Isn't it weird that there's thousands of religions, all claiming they're the truth and the rest are wrong, each creating their own version of God and what an afterlife would look like?
Okay, so there's actually not a whole ton of religions. If you look at it, there's atheists, there's Christians, Muslims, and then there's Buddhists. That's the broad majority of religions. And yes, he is right. We all are trying to search for what is next, what is the afterlife. But I believe Christianity best aligns with truth, which truth is what best aligns with reality.
How does he know all these religions created their own version of God? Christianity is distinctly not the kind of religion you would create. Pick up your own cross. Even a lustful thought is equal to adultery. And how does he also know that we don't know which religion is true until we die? That's what makes Christianity unique, is we have a Savior who died and came back and tells us with confidence that there's a heaven.
So this is an extraordinarily uninformed, dismissive, and reductive response to the idea of world religions. First of all, they say that this list provided is really the only list of religions around the world, and that's simply not true. They listed the Western religions, not including Mormonism, which I assume that they wouldn't consider Mormonism a form of Christianity because many evangelical Christians do not. But they also didn't talk about many Eastern religions, such as Jainism, Sikhism, Baha'i, Hinduism, and you can, of course, include philosophies like Taoism and Confucianism, because these are still religions. People form their lives around the framework of these faiths, and they provide them with meaning and value and a metaphysic and rituals, practices. So they would be considered as well. And this isn't to even mention ancient religions that have existed, such as Zoroastrianism. So there's a whole lot. There are far more than these listed. Now, I imagine, as he alluded to, maybe they're referring to statistically, most of the people in the world kind of fall under the umbrella of these few religions. But that has no bearing on the question. It doesn't matter how many people there are. Just because a small percentage of the world is Shinto, that doesn't mean that it doesn't count or matter as a different faith that is out there. So we can even just say that more than one is enough to make the question valid. So it really doesn't matter to say that, the majority of people fall under these few religions. But of course, they would say that Christianity aligns most with what is true because that's their worldview. They believe that. If you're somebody who is raised to believe something, is conditioned to believe something, then what is called confirmation bias guides you to think, okay, my worldview is what is most true. So that's most likely what's going on in this case for him to make that assertion. And it's also weird that they would make the argument that Christianity isn't the sort of religion that humanity would develop. It's not the only religion that calls for self-sacrificial service or things like this. A variety, in fact, most religions call for this. I would encourage anybody to research Jainism. It absolutely is about self-sacrifice to the point of death even. So that's not really a valid idea, but also, even if that weren't the case, how do you know that humanity can't come up with this? I would say the only reason you think that is based on the worldview there, right? Your worldview that all humanity is depraved and can't do what is good. That's why you would say that Christianity is the only religion that is true. But if that's incorrect, then humanity could come up with these self-sacrificial, altruistic values. That's totally possible, at least within the realm of evolutionary psychology as we understand it so far. And it's actually pretty surprising how naive and unthoughtful this idea that Christianity is a unique religion is. I'm surprised that they would say what they say here. They were saying that we know that Christianity is unique because God came to the world, God's self, and told us about it. But that's only if you believe that it's true. So this is sort of circular reasoning here. He's basically saying, well, I know that Christianity is true and unique because Christianity is true. So this is sort of an unfortunate way of describing why Christianity would be unique. So he's only asserting this based on an assumption or a presumption. So all in all, this unfortunately is what apologetics does. It distills the world down to its most oversimplified features such that they align with the worldview of the apologist. And this is disingenuous. It's intellectually dishonest. It's not even necessarily an attempt to deceive other people, but it's sort of a way of deceiving oneself. But in any case, yeah, this is an entirely inadequate response to the idea of world religions and their validity. I think it's strange when this happens and people don't realize that it's happening, but I do think that this is what's happening here in this case.